Hey guys, Carlos Franco here again. Ready for some art? Before we begin, remember, please pin Loisaida ink on the window. You'll see like a couple of windows over here in your device. You'll see one that says Loisaida. Uh, Grab the pin symbol and just pin it. That way you only see the screen and it makes it better for us. And also, again, always remember to hold your device at a horizontal position just to make sure you don't miss any of the action and any of the images that I'm going to be sharing. So today we're going to continue the classes that we've been doing, and as you've been seeing, I've been building up for the last weeks. Last week we actually did some character design, and I called the class Visual Basics to World Building. This is like the sequel to that. So, but in this class, instead of focusing on the character, we're going to be focusing on where the character is and the relationship between character, figure, and the background or the space or the place where the character is. Before we go into all of the exercises and my usual introductory thing, I want you guys to look around you and for a little bit, you can say it out loud, you can share it with the friend next to you, but I want you to become aware of the room that you're in. And I know I've done this in different versions throughout these classes, but again, I think it's really important for us to be aware of the context in which we are. And right now, because we're working with scene building and storytelling, I want us to be conscious of the relationship of us as a character in this world and with our space, and just to be aware where we are. Right now, I am in my library. I have an mirror image of myself right in front of me. I'm looking at myself right now, playing around with my hands. I have a lot of books on this side. I have some walls over here. And I want you guys to just look around and be aware that you are a character in the story, that you're a character in that room in which you're at. And today we're gonna bring that more into the context of like how actually to create this world and how to relate our story or a story for a character that we are creating to that world or to that environment. I'm gonna do a little bit of a review of what we've been going through in the last classes, just so you get your motors running. So if you guys remember, we've been teaching in the last classes about shapes, color, and the relationship between figure and background. Remember simple shapes to create complex figures, and then color to create a mood, and how that relationship is basically like you can separate one from the other, and then the relationship between figure and background, meaning like figure, like a character, and then the background, the context where it's at. Last week, I started paying special attention to the idea of the scene and the fact, as I've been saying right now, about there's when you create a figure, when you create a circle, it doesn't exist necessarily in a vacuum. It exists in a space where he's interacting with stuff and where he's telling a story. And I did like this little animation as an example of the same characters, meaning in this case the circle, telling a story. Last week, as we were designing our character, I told you guys to do 5 attributes that define the character, and I created a new character with you. I don't. Let me see if you guys remember. You guys remember him? I guess in the last class, he was in this context, right? And it was like Circle Man, and he's like squares in a square world, and he's trying to escape. And then I put the same character in a different context, right? In this case, the beige, which was, for example, another scene that I had touched upon in a previous class. So today, what we're gonna do, we're gonna keep building on this idea of like storytelling and character and how to create a scene. And I hope you guys remember your own characters. In my case, I developed a a little bit, I changed him a little bit, just to make my point more clearly. So I'm pretty sure you guys remember this guy. And as I'm showing you this guy, I hope you guys are bringing up your own characters. And if you guys don't have your characters with you, which were supposed to be cut out, feel free at least to keep in mind who was your character, what story were you trying to tell. And again, it doesn't have to be a really complicated developed character, as you can see over here. Simple shapes to create complex figures. It can be only a circle, and you can tell whatever story you want to create. There are no rules, only your imagination. So last week we had this guy, and today we're gonna be thinking about more about the background and again the world that he exists. And as I'm saying this, I want you guys, and I think it's something that I pointed out last week about the importance of knowing the attributes that you're writing down for the character, who the character is, what he's doing, why he's doing it, and how knowing those things it's actually gonna define how the story that's gonna be told once you put him into a space, into a background, into a context. In this case, just to make a point, I had put like Circle Man in Square World. So I did a little bit of animation right now for you guys. See, that went a little bit ahead. Let me bring him back here. Okay. So again, I hope you guys are already bringing out your characters, thinking about your characters, and I want you right now, and I think it's like we started this last week about thinking what's the story that you want to tell and where the story is gonna take place. This story doesn't have to take place in anywhere that complicated. It doesn't need to be a real setting. It doesn't need to be a physical space. As I said, I just created like Square World, and it doesn't also have to do realistic. But I want you guys really to think and give it hard thought in the relationship that this character is gonna have with his environment. For example, when we think about someone like Spider-Man, he's Spider-Man, right? So he has web slings. So when he's in a city, he's web slinging and moving around and trying out around the spider web. If you have SpongeBob, well, SpongeBob is a sea sponge. I'm not quite sure what SpongeBob is, but at least he lives under the sea, and most of his stories are in relation to that. So if you put him to space, automatically he's gonna need a spacesuit. So you can see how the context and with the story is actually taking place can actually design the story just by itself, as long as you have a well-designed character and know who the character is. And again, I want to bring this to the fore. Like I just mentioned, Spider-Man. That doesn't mean that we need to build a really complicated city. That doesn't mean that we need to build like a forest that actually looks like a forest. You can express yourself, and it can be like some simple stains on a paper with whatever materials you have in hand. And I can emphasize this as much that the important thing is for you to be putting whatever is in your head outside, meaning there are no right rules, there's no right way to make a head, there's no right way to make an eye, to make a character. As you can see, my character that I'm developing over here is extremely silly. So I want you guys to really feel comfortable and just have a conversation with the art materials and just let your imagination run wild. But before we get into the coloring and the actual exercises, I want you guys to start visualizing the same way that we did with when we were creating the character. I want you guys to start thinking uh, through words and kind of like breaking down the scene, kind of like telling the story before you actually execute it. That's just gonna help you to visualize to visualize what kind of space are you gonna be creating. So I want you guys to grab a piece of paper, a white piece of paper, and a pencil, and just write down really quick in a short paragraph, meaning one or two sentences, one preferably. Where is your character? What is he doing here? What is he doing there? For example, in this case, Spider-Man is swinging to the city looking for the vulture. Or SpongeBob is throwing a party at Krabby Patty. It's important to be short and concise and to not add too many details in this. And I'm gonna give you 1 minute to do that. And remember, you don't. It doesn't have to be in a specific space. You can get really creative, like I did. You can make square world whatever way you want to do. You want to make a bitch, make a bitch. You want to make a silly square world. Go ahead and make square world. You can be really abstract and playful with your description, and then see where that takes you when you're dealing with the materials. How do you figure that out with the materials that you have in hand? Okay, now that you guys have your sentence, I haven't written mine because I think in this class especially, I want to make a point about how there's no right way to make art or how to create worlds or how to stay stories. So I'm just gonna be improvising and making it up as we go along. And remember, no rules. It can be like Minecraft, just a world made out of boxes and squares. Now, in that same piece of paper, I want you guys to write a second sentence or a small paragraph. And then we're gonna use this to create our art, but I want you guys to write a short paragraph describing what objects are around your character. For example, around Spider-Man, what will we see? We will see uh, buildings, we will see cars, and we'll see probably people moving around, right? In SpongeBob's case, we will see like the burgers, and we will see like tables, we will see other characters. For example, this is SpongeBob. I did a simple blue background, and then I put like a birthday cake and some balloons. I want you guys to write down, in the case of your character, what is around here. In this really bad rendition of Spider-Man, I put Spider-Man on top of some buildings, some cars underneath, and some people going around. I want you guys to visualize in what space and in what world is this story taking place. And I think once you start seeing the relationship between space, object, and character, the story almost starts writing itself. So if I know that Spider-Man is out there in the city, that must mean that he's out there hunting a bad guy, right? I think putting these constraints and us thinking about the spaces and the objects that are there are just gonna help write the story write itself. And remember, again, we're doing this, but I don't want you guys to feel any pressure that, oh my God, this story needs to be, completely fleshed out like a comic, like a movie. Believe me, if you guys only want to do a blue background, do that. If you guys we just want to do a story in which squares are reacting to circle guys, you guys don't have to do that. It doesn't need to look realistically. It doesn't need to to look accurate, meaning as if like there's some depth in the paper. I just want you guys to really use your imagination and start separating the different aspects, the different factors that go into world building and storytelling. That there's always like a character, for example, you, and there's a space in which is the story or an action is happening, meaning the room. I'm gonna give you guys a couple of minutes to do that. And feel free to share with your neighbor. I want to emphasize, and I told in the last class that we're gonna start thinking how this character that you've been creating actually can go to different spaces and different worlds. So now we're focusing on creating our own world, but maybe in the future we'll be able to take this character into another person's world creation, right? Today, I hope that you guys have your character. If you don't, it's okay, but I want you guys to start thinking more about the space, not the character itself. Again, I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes. I'm just gonna play around with this animation just to bring to the fore how there's really no right or wrong. There's just letting the imagination run wild. Uh, okay, so I hope you guys have that down, and we're gonna go into our first exercise. So for this exercise, you can use crayons, you can use coloring pencils, you can use markers, you can use, if you have construction paper and you want to cut it out, you can glue it to the paper, you can do that. The important thing is to grab a white piece of paper, and that's gonna be your basis. And then I want you guys to take the first exercise that we did, meaning like the space where your character is, and start visualizing it. Start thinking what colors, how can I make these shapes? Maybe you're thinking that your character, sorry, that your character is in a forest. Well, what would you need? Like you would need like a blue background, maybe some green underneath, like dirt. And remember, I want to emphasize on this because I know it can be a little bit of pressure. Especially, I remember when I was a little kid and someone told me like paint a forest, like, and I'll be stressed out. But like, it's really important not to think like there's a right way to do it. Let me see over here. Again, it can look realistically. It can be some squares. We've learned this in the last classes. There's no right way. Like, feel free to do it any way you want. If you visualize your forest as a flat, just a couple of trees in a flat space, that's totally okay. Go for it. So it can be a forest with some trees. You see this perspective. We're looking from the top down. Maybe those trees are all a different color. Maybe we have a clear view of the forest, or maybe we actually have a close up of the forest and we can see the forest canopy. Maybe we can see your character is a bird flying across the forest canopy. As we saw in the last class, maybe your characters are just existing inside of the man and you create like a silhouette of a head and they're inside there. Maybe your character is you and you're drawing the space that's around you. Again, feel free to let your imagination go out there. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's only creating. Maybe it's just a flat blue background. And your character is barely a character. Maybe it's just like a doodle. The important thing for this exercise is just start focusing on the space, not the figures that are gonna be and the character, your principal character, but actually where he's at. And again, it can be any background. I'm gonna go ahead and start that with you guys. Okay, the last time I did this circle guy with this guys. Today, I had already done previously in the exercise, like the beach from this scene. So today, maybe I'm gonna play around and try to create a beach scene. This, I said, we were looking at it from the top, right? And we're looking down on an island. What if I shift the perspective and tell the story as if I'm down there in the beach? What would I be seeing? What would I be seeing at that moment? So I think I'm gonna. And remember, guys, if you see me struggling with this, I'm just making it up along with you guys. There's no right or wrong. Just wanted to prove that point. Okay, so let's say the beach from that perspective. So I guess I may need like a line first. That line is gonna help me put into perspective the horizon. And I'm gonna have my character be, let me see, be looking from the beach to the ocean. So I'm gonna make a horizon line like that. Okay, so that's gonna tell me where my character is gonna be looking. And I'm gonna start painting the sea over here. Just really simple. I don't even wanna I don't want it to be like a. I don't want it to be right. I don't want it to be wrong. I just want to feel the colors. I just want to play around. Does it feel good when I put this blue over here? Does it feel bad? Just wanna. It's really important. Just play around with it. There's no right or wrong. Just creating. There's no pressure. As I told you guys, I'm also making this up as I go. Okay. Give me a second, guys. Almost ran out of battery there. So we were doing the beach scene over here, and I'm painting some water. And what else does a beach scene need? It needs land, obviously. It needs like the sand, and it needs the sky, right? So let me think that I guess the water goes around here, maybe over here to simulate a wave. And now I'm gonna start adding the land. And what color is the sand? I painted it like a little bit yellow, this one, right? Yes. So I wanted to do this also as an example so you guys start thinking about story building and scene building like you see in movies when you have a Spider-Man looking from space and then you zoom in and Sully's in the city, how you can regularly tell a story with the once you have the same characters and even if you change perspective and scene and you focus on one character, it still seems coherent. So who do we have hiding over here in the beach? Oops. Circle guy, right? So I'm gonna start with the sand over here. I guess that's a cool, maybe a little bit more yellow. Okay. Remember, I'm gonna keep repeating myself. There's no right, there's no wrong. There's only creativity. I wonder what you guys are doing. Maybe a city, maybe the sky, maybe a zoo. I think doing a zoo will be really cool. That will allow you to create a bunch of characters. Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna make some sand over here and start thinking that this can be like the edge between the ocean. Got a little bit of yellow, a little one over here. So remember, I'm looking as if I'm out there, I'm in the beach, looking out to the sea, right? Okay. And something to notice as I'm doing this, I'm not going straight to the details. I'm starting a little bit building like general colors and general forms. And then I'm going to start adding the details slowly and slowly adding a little bit of the details. Okay, we've got the ocean over here. And I want you guys to focus on the space, meaning where is it happening as we did in the first exercise. I don't want you guys still to be thinking about the objects that we did in the second exercise that are going to come along a little bit later. Okay, put some sign over here. Okay. Now I got some sand and you need to use your imagination because now we see only two colors, right? Really simple. Two slivers of color and that's it. But once I tell you, like as we did with the exercise of writing where it's taking place, now I'm telling you where it's taking place and you're already seeing like, oh, I can see sand and water. And that's why it was important to start visualizing the exercise with words and writing down what is the story going to be about? Words allow us to map around the world, to tell ourselves what's really going on, to explain our context. That's why I wanted you guys to look around the room and think about what you're seeing, objectivize your reality, and put it into a narrative that then you can share with someone. Okay, I'm gonna leave these two colors over here for a second and let you guys catch up a little bit, and then I'm gonna keep thinking what else needs to happen over here. Maybe. Let me bring us some samples. I think that's gonna help a little bit. So we have some trees. We had okay. We have like a green. That will be my sand right now. And then I guess I need a sky, right? In this painting, look, we see like the sea. We see the horizon line over here. I don't know if you guys can see that. We see a ship that's down, and then we see the sky. So I think I'm gonna focus right now on creating the sky. Now, my sea, I'm gonna add a little bit details later, but right now it's pretty blue, right? So I think the sky needs to be also blue, but we need to change the tone. Make it a little bit more cerulean, like blue, like whiter. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take that same color and maybe put it, no. Actually, that may work. Over here, I need to put the sky in the background. Okay. That kind of works. I'm gonna make it a little bit wider over here and assume that there are some, just so we can notice the difference a little bit more. Assume like there's some clouds, a really beautiful day. Or in Puerto Rico, in Rincon, I have my surfboard. I'm eating some alcapurrias, some empanadillas. It's all sounding pretty good right now, huh? Okay. Okay. Ooh. Okay, we got a sky over here. Okay. Okay, I'm actually gonna close this guy. So maybe taking a little bit of memory. Okay, that's sky over here. Sky, boom. So, if I didn't tell you guys or we hadn't written down what we were doing, meaning like the story beforehand, would you be able to tell that this is a beach scene? I think it will be a really little bit difficult, but why I say that is like I want you guys to recognize the power of color and illusion. The fact of the importance of writing down the story and having in mind a story that you're gonna tell before then, and how that helps us visualize the world that we're gonna create. I wonder what you guys are doing. I hope at least one of you or two are making a beach scene also, and are trying to go along with me on this one. Let me see over here. Now, as I told you guys, really simple shapes right now. Basically, three rectangles, different colors. And now we're gonna start going into the details. And always have in mind as we're doing this, we're trying to tell a story, right? So I was telling the story of Weirdo Circle Man. So start having that in mind, even though we're not focusing on the character, but have it in mind. Like, how are you framing the scene? How are you, from what perspective are you looking? What's the story being told? In my exercise from this side, I'm building up in the previous classes. So the base from two classes ago, Now I'm using it from another perspective. So it's almost like the class itself, and every episode of this class with me becomes a story, right? You can think about it that way. So I'm gonna start adding some clouds over here. And I'm gonna make that a little bit opaque so it doesn't take too much of the blue. Let's see over here. Maybe a little bit smaller, right? Actually, a little bit bigger. Okay, I'm gonna start with still too big. A little bit softer. That works for now. A bit more opaque. Okay, that works. I'm gonna do like a giant cloud over here just to create a sense of perspective. And then I'm gonna do some smaller ones over here because when we look at things that are at a distance, they look a little bit smaller, right? Okay. A small one over here. Here. Maybe not. Okay. Maybe over here. Yeah, one. Like that didn't work out for me actually. Yeah, one. Just so it creates like a interesting shape. Okay, and now I'm gonna start filling them a little bit. So this one. Remember, guys, there's no right and wrong. I'm inventing this technique as we go. So feel free to experiment. That's ultra important in what we're doing. As I would say, there's no painting inside of the lines. There's just playing around. Okay, let me add some white over here. I wonder what you guys are doing. I hope also somebody's making a bitch, but I kind of hope someone kind of like my character of Circle Man being stuck in Circle World and is actually trying to create their own story with Circle Man in Square World. Okay, over here, let's have some fun with this guy. Little detail. Maybe make it. This one can be a little bit. This one, what does it need? I want you guys also, again, as you're doing this, don't think too much and start thinking, start feeling, start seeing like, what feels good? Does this cloud over here feel right? That's usually how I do my work. Does this feel right? Is this meant to be here? What does it make me feel when I put this here? You know, this one I'm adding a little bit TLC, tender love and care. This is like I'm gonna call this cloud Johnny. Okay, maybe a little bit of a whisk over here. Okay, now it starts looking a little bit more like a bitch, right? Just a little bit more. And this one, okay. Like this. I'm gonna try to mask this a little bit. So as you guys are doing this, as my computer is loading it now, again, I want you guys to keep thinking. Now you're creating the background. Obviously, we're thinking about the story. What's the action that's gonna start happening over here? One of the things with the second exercise, I guess, that we did is about thinking what objects are gonna be here, are gonna be inside of the story, along with our character. Now, I hope you guys have your character. It's taking a little bit long. I guess that I hope that you guys had your character from the last class. If you don't have it, we can add him just directly into the paper. But if you have the cutout, start thinking where you're gonna place this character within this space. Taking longer than I expected, but that'll give you guys time to catch up. Hmm? Oh, let me see. Okay, cool. So that's taking a little bit long. We'll see how it goes. There you go. Okay, still going. Now, as we're like, as I said, just starting from general shapes right now, I want you guys to keep thinking of what are the details that you're gonna start adding. As I already said, I started with three slivers right now, three slivers of color, three rectangles of color within the white piece of paper, and then added some clouds right now. I want you guys to start thinking what colors, what shades can you actually add to this drawing to actually make it a little bit more lively, right? A little bit more as if it's as if it is as if it's like a detail in an actual world. So I have my cloud over here, I have my clouds. What I'm thinking about these details right now and what it needs is a little bit of details to the water. So it looks like if it's uh, actually lively and breaking waves. As if it has some waves. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna go again to the blue. Then I'm gonna make this a little bit harder right now. I'm gonna start making the shore over here a little bit clearer. And one breaking over here. Da, 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 da. Okay. Maybe I'm gonna erase this part a little bit. Okay, so I'm thinking that for this blue, what we need is something really similar to what we're doing with the clouds. Maybe a little bit of white over here. And again, I'm doing this so you guys keep up with me. But if you guys want, again, like it's really important for me you guys to understand there's no right way to do this. I'm playing my own way. If you guys want to do something really simple, where you just have a blue background and you have your character on top, the important thing is just start visualizing your character and the story that's being told. Okay, I'm gonna that's a little bit too much, that's a little bit too big. I'll make this. So just add some quick details over here. Just to simulate like as if it's like a little bit of a shore. Start going over here. Maybe here. And make this a little smaller. Something that you guys may have noticed is like I'm trying to make a point of choosing like the most basic shapes. So you see how when we start visualizing and when we have like a idea of what we actually want to do, like you don't need a lot. It's not as I repeated a million times by now in this classes. It's not about right. It's not about knowing correct anatomy about how to draw someone. It's about knowing how to do more with less. So even if you only have a square, even if you only have a circle, even if you only have three colors, which is basically what I'm doing right now, you can really create complex narratives and complex art and complex stories. Don't let anyone tell you like you need to have like a be a master painter or something. or something like that to make art. It can be with whatever object, even if you don't have art materials, whatever object that you have around you, you can use it to tell a story, your story. Or you can even use it to visualize a different way to relate to the world, a different way to gain agency within that world, a different way to tell a story. I'm gonna keep adding some little waves over here, just a little bit more transparent. Follow it around here. Gonna zoom in on that for a little bit. Okay. Okay. Over here. Now I'm gonna go maybe have some in the distance. Really simple squiggly line, guys. Squiggly lines. Squiggly lines can take you a lot of places. One thing also when we're doing this and as you're building your world, it's kind of like keep thinking also about like rhythm and like as I'm doing the squiggle lines, I see like I'm doing like a little bit of a rhythm and creating like a little bit of a harmony in the world, right? Just start thinking about that also. Almost like music. Okay, so let's say I have the water, I have the sky, and so I'm gonna just to make it prettier so you guys can get a better sense. I'm gonna clear this up a little bit. I find it a little bit distracting visually. Just adding that kind of creates like a different layer, right? Okay, I think that's a little bit better. Maybe also over here a little bit. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. When you're doing your space, and I mentioned this in the second class that we had about the importance of, there are some rules to create perspective, but if an object is close to you, you can really see it really saturated and also really big. We did that exercise with our hands. But once we put it afar, it seems the colors start coming down a little bit, right? So that's what I'm doing right now, playing around with this principle. We can touch a lot more on this kind of really specific rules about art making, but as we're going through these classes, I want first to us to focus on actual creativity and actually empowering us to how to basically go from the general, meaning like storytelling, into particulars after the fact. What do we need over here? So this is a beige. Well, the final detail that I'm gonna add to my beige is probably gonna be like some detail to the sand. I'm gonna make this a little bit darker. Okay, I'm gonna pick this color and then make it a little bit darker. And see, I'm adding little details over here. So I want you guys to see how I went from basically the general, and now I'm getting more specific. And that's it. Just once you have that principle, it's just gonna help you in the world building. Like it never starts at you having like a big picture and everything falls into place. It's actually a process of building the world. I'm gonna start going a little bit faster. I wonder what you guys are doing. Again, I really hope someone's actually doing a square world. I think after I did mine, I needed a break from that. Well, I did do that other animation today for you guys, so I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger just because of a trick I'm gonna show you right now. Even bigger than that. Hey, and remember, doesn't matter if you pay, there's no right or wrong in this. Now, I'm gonna do something just to throw that off a little bit. Keep adding details, guys. Play around with it. There's no right. Again, I'm gonna keep repeating myself. There's no right, there's no wrong. Just creating. So I'm gonna compare this beach with the beach that I had done in 2 classes ago and see where we're at. See if I were to put these two images next to each other, they will look as if they're participating in the same story. That would it be coherent for the character to be in that beach and also in this beach? Let's see. Okay, so we had this guy over here, and we're washing inside of the island, right? Inside of the beach. And then we zoom out, we zoom out, we zoom out. Uh-oh. We see the beach over here. We see the wildland that we were adding from another perspective. We see two characters over here. Interesting. Maybe we should add those to our story, but before we do that, we zoom out, 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 zoom out. And now I'm gonna compare that to this one. It's not perfectly, but it's enough for us to, I feel, continue on with this. The ocean over here in the other side is a little bit more cerulean than this blue, but that's okay. I have no problems with that. Okay, so what we're gonna do right now is what I think is one of the most important aspects of doing this exercise, which is we're gonna place our characters in the space, right, guys? So I don't know if you guys still have your character because it was supposed to be cut out. If you don't, it's totally okay. I'm gonna act as if you do. I don't. I was irresponsible. I was never a good student, particularly when I was little. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint my character in the scene. Okay, so we have the base. Gonna add one layer over here. So what was my character? Purple circle, right? So let's say in this one, he's looking out. He's looking. Let me change that for a second. He's looking out to the beach, right? Over here, and we have his eyes over here. So I'm gonna assume that if we're this close to the water in this one, we're looking at his back. So he's gonna be facing straight forward. So what I'm gonna do is gonna make a circle over here. We're gonna make it purple. Okay, I'm gonna make it on this side. And okay. So I'm gonna assume that we're looking at his back, right? Over here. Over here. So think as if we're standing behind him and we're looking at his back. Now you may ask yourself, why does he seem so big in this one? It's because of something that's gonna take part in the next exercise of us thinking about, okay, we did the space, we did the background, then think like you guys are supposed to be doing right now. You're putting your character on top, either your cutout or maybe you want to paint the character on top of the piece of paper. There are no rules, but once you put it on top, think about perspective. And we did this exercise at the beginning of the class of like putting our hands close and back. And once we have a character closer to our figure, like the hand, closer to our face, it seems bigger, right? With over here in this exercise and this little animation. So a sense of distance, smaller, 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 bigger, 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 until he's right on top of us, right? So I'm playing around with that just to create a sense of narrative. I'm gonna have him over here as if he's looking towards the ocean. You know what? Something else I'm gonna add just to create the narrative more completely. I'm gonna add the airplane that was looking at him from our previous exercise. And I hope you guys are noticing what I'm doing, where I'm building up almost like episodes, right? So I want you guys to start thinking about your character and how he can actually have a continuous story and different episodes. We talked already about the fact of maybe us collaborating with our neighbor and how our character may interact or may not interact with his own story. And I want you guys to really start thinking about that, about what would that mean. So I'm gonna create the airplane over here, and I'm gonna do it real simple, just so we keep going on ahead. Gonna do this. Do it here. I can make it really simpler than that. Sorry guys, this is gonna look like a terrible airplane, but bear with me. Right here, like that. Let me close this over. Close this over here. I'm gonna make a little bit wide, a little bit smaller. Here. A wing over here. Remember, this is me justifying my terrible airplane right now, but there's no right and there's no wrong. Right now, I'm gonna make it as clean as possible, just so we get an idea. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna add some windows, right? Because my character in the other one was looking from a window. I'm gonna make those maybe a little bit different blue, so we don't get that confused with the background. Okay, so we got some windows. And this may not be my best airplane, but it kind of proves the point. I'll make it a little bit better for you guys later. Oh, let me fix it a little bit. If I don't fix it, I'm gonna feel guilty. And that's enough for story. You get the idea. It probably looks more like a UFO, but you get the idea. So we have the airplane, and we have this perspective. In the first scene of me going somewhere, looking down at purple circle character in the island. And now we have it from the other perspective of looking toward the airplane that's going by. Now, obviously, it doesn't look beautiful, but I'm making it really fast just to prove, just to show you guys how to build a story across scenes. How when we define a character, and when we define its location, like right now, like the perspective from me from the airplane, the purple character, we can actually create complex stories, even if it's a simple circle, even if it's like a terribly, terribly looking airplane. We can actually say a lot. Let me see over here. What can we add over here? Well, before we run out of time, because we're going to continue in the next class also with this exercise, and I want you guys, please, save these exercises. save the paper because I'm gonna save this file and I'm gonna clean up the airplane a little bit so you guys get a better sense of it. But I want you guys to save your paper, because in the next class we got 5 more minutes right now, so we're not gonna have time. But in the next class we're gonna be thinking about something else, which is a foreground. And what do I mean by a foreground? And I'm gonna give you a sample so you keep building on the story. By foreground, I mean things that. So if we make the background, and the background is all of this, we have our character almost sandwiched on top of that. The foreground will be what's in front of the character. So we have this. Let's say that's our character right now. And in the next class, we're going to focus on this aspect of creating a scene. And that will be like the fourth exercise. So also save your other piece of paper in which we wrote the objects that we're going to have to also in the scene. In the case of SpongeBob over here, besides the birthday cake and the balloons, I added a top. So with this one, I don't know what I'm gonna add still. I'm still developing this story. I'm gonna clean the airplane a little bit. Let's see what I can do over here. Maybe I'm gonna add actually something to this before I forget, because we didn't have other figures in the background. I'm gonna add like a small character over here that was too big. It's like a kind of human character, I guess. Over here in the page. Now, I hope you guys, again, did your background, added your character, and as we're running out of time, we're gonna have to continue the other week. I'll try to clean these characters up a little bit so you guys get a better sense of them. But the important thing to get out of this exercise, first of all, just using simple colors and simple shapes to create a story, to tell a story, and third of all, like that the story, this thing, to create a complex story, again, you don't need nothing that complicated. You just need a sense of where the story is taking place and who the character is. At the end of the day, is once you, as you did today, like where you have like a character, like that we developed in the last class, and today we have a background. That interconnection between character and background is a really powerful thing, especially if you see around you and you try to position yourself in a space in which you are trying to tell your own story. And as we're doing this exercise, one of the most important things for me to tell you guys is about the power that each one of you have, even like I do. Like we're creating a story over here, we're creating new worlds. But the fact that we actually can gain control of our surrounding, we can tell our own story, we can have some agency in it, that we're not innocent bystanders. Just the same way that we actually have the capacity over here to create a story, we have the power to actually create our own story. With just a little bit of work, just a little bit of technique, we can actually reach a moment in which we are our own storytellers. It can either be with this scene, for example, or it can be in your own life. Now, it's really important, guys. Please save your. Let me clean this up. Save your papers. Hey, look at this guy over here. Now he looks better. Save your papers. Save both the paper that you're doing this exercise, but also the paper in which you wrote what story do you want to tell and what are the details. And we're gonna keep building up for this for the next class. And as a preview, we're gonna start with the foreground, and then we're gonna start thinking about how this character can go to other places and how we can create actual multiple scenes like this one to create like a more complex narrative. And with that, I'm gonna ask you guys if there's anyone on, if you guys have any questions, feel free to shout out, feel free to share it, to write it. If you guys want to show me your artwork, please send an email to Loisaida. They'll get it to me. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And if the question right now is, what's the name of this guy? I have no idea still. But maybe you guys can help me name him. Maybe it should be a competition. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, I'm gonna leave it at there. And remember, if you guys want to rewatch this, if you guys want to go back at it and maybe try to follow exactly what I was doing, although I kind of like wouldn't say that you should do that, feel free to go to YouTube, to the Loisaida channel. You'll find this again over there. And besides that, see you next week. Thanks for logging in. Stay safe. Ciao.